are back, and we just finished watching 2024's extremely disappointing Beetlejuice, rated PG-13 with a runtime of 1 hour and 45 minutes. This comes to us from director Tim Burton with writing credits to Alfred Gough, Miles Millar. Miles Millar? Really?
I don't think it's the comic guy.
Oh, Seth Grahame-Smith.
Might be the comic guy. Seth Grahame-Smith is the guy who did Abraham Lincoln Vampire Killer.
Which is not also... Oh, whatever. I don't know where to start here. I didn't like this.
Did anybody like this movie?
Apparently.
Not really.
I was going to say... Apparently the budget on this sucker was $100 million. The opening weekend alone was $111 million. U.S. and Canada gross is $228 million, and the worldwide gross is $332 million.
I guess there was nostalgia. You had nostalgia going for it. Old fans of the original movie wanted to see more or see a sequel. And you also had Jenna Ortega, who's like...
Oh, she's like the new thing, right?
She exploded around the time that this movie came out.
Yeah.
So...
I mean, I feel like she exploded before that. But
probably a little bit before that, but I think that was like sort of the height or the height of her notoriety. Mm-hmm. And it was like, oh, we'll get to see more of her. And
right, she's coming off of Wednesday, the appeal of Wednesday, and also the Scream movies. She did 2 of those.
Exactly. So she's like on fire.
And Miller's Girl, which we loved. I was being sarcastic.
Didn't she do only... Oh, wait, no, that was Selena Gomez, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I confused them sometimes.
So, yeah, you had an audience that was...
Storm.
It's exactly a perfect storm.
Oh, man. This was
that
not
more
good.
than made up for the fact that the story was terrible. It really felt like it was just overstuffed.
Yes.
They tried to put in too many plot elements, and they never really, like, none of them were treated in a satisfying way. And on top of that, every character, like the main character, Lydia Deetz,
played by Winona Ryder.
It's just annoying.
Yes.
It's just annoying.
I didn't find her, even as a teenager, I didn't find her as annoying as I did here.
No, she was cool as a teenager, and then suddenly they took this interesting character, and then we visit her, 30 years later, and now she's like this weird basket case lady.
She was annoying from the beginning of the film. There wasn't a single moment where I liked any of the characters in this film at all.
Nobody? Not even I was going to say grandmother. What's her name?
What?
Celia?
She was the worst. She wasn't the worst, but she was
the worst.
terrible.
She became even more annoying than she was in the original movie.
Fair enough. Yes, she was.
So freaking annoying.
Well, she had more screen time in this thing.
Unfortunately.
Astrid wasn't.
Astrid was so freaking annoying. For someone like, for a character like that, like a cynic or something. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a character like that, she gets manipulated so easily by a guy that's not even cute. He looks like crap.
Now. It's okay.
Oh
Yeah, he
God,
looked like
he
Ed
was
Sheeran.
Ugly. He did not look like Ed Sheeran.
Does everyone look
that movie?
Yes.
You're thinking of Santa's Girl.
Santa Girl.
I can't even believe we've admitted to watching parts of that at all.
I actually would have preferred if we had sat down and watched all of Santa Girl opposed to this movie.
Gee, do you feel vindicated now?
Wow. This movie was so freaking terrible. And none of the characters were good for a second. You know, the only good part about this film was that Monica Bellucci was in it.
And she was sort of bitched out too.
She was. She was barely in the film, and then she gets like
bitched out. Yeah. And
What
Wolf
an awful film.
Jackson, played by Willem Dafoe, completely kind of wasted as well.
Yeah, like why did they even I like seeing him in films because he's funny, but he didn't. I mean,
That's what I mean when I said it was like overstuffed. It was. It seemed like, well, one, it took forever to get off the ground.
Yes.
Forever.
Like the first part of this movie is just a drag to go through.
And I felt like it focused too much on the father.
That was another thing that was weird.
For somebody who wasn't in the film, there is a lot of time spent on his story and on him as a character because he's allegedly in it.
He's allegedly in it, and obviously the actor himself is problematic because of his real life
pedophilia.
Yep.
Yes.
Well, I don't know. I mean, alleged, I guess. Because
they found some kiddie porn.
Yes,
on,
we don't know if he ever acted on it.
If you possess that, then you're a pedophile.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
So obviously he was not going to be in this movie, but they could have handled that in a much better way. Just like, I mean, they could have handled that in the way they handled the fact that Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis aren't
Adam
in this
and Barbara
movie.
were no longer,
they basically get written off with a single line of dialogue. Oh, they found a loophole.
Yes, and they moved on.
Meanwhile, whatever his name was, the father,
Charles, played by Jeffrey Jones.
Jeffrey Jones' character, he gets a entire stop motion animated sequence
explaining what happened to him
with his likeness, and his likeness is all over this movie. His face is on the gravestone. It's everywhere. It's in a newspaper. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
And I guess, okay, we're using that to bring the family. They could have done that in a ton of different ways.
Sure. It could have been like exposition.
Right.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you think, okay, well, they're taking a bit long with this, but what's the story going to be? What is the actual story going to be? And then they introduce Monica Bellucci's character.
Who looked cool as
Who looked
fuck.
amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, Monica Bellucci looks always amazing, but she looked cool with the staple line across her face.
I like that sequence where she where she's first introduced.
Yeah, it was like she
was cool.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say it was like she was like in real life Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas, right?
Yes. There's definitely that influence, and they spent time doing that
her up
and
as
building
this
up like
baddie.
a bit of a story that this was going to be what the story's about, but it wasn't.
No.
She was basically a side note. And even at the end, when I was like, oh, she's going to come in and disrupt the wedding, and she's going to be the one that like wrecks it enough where they're able to get out of the whole contract and whatever else.
That's another part of.
And then it's just sort of like, okay, so problem solved. We figured that one out.
Actually, you did this, so that doesn't count.
Yes, the way they got out of the contract was also handled with like one line of crappy dialogue.
It was dumb because how did she read the book.
She
for
barely
like
read the book.
Second, and then all of a sudden she's so knowledgeable. Like you broke rule 1358, which means that this doesn't count, and you need to leave us alone. Like
She figured that out, but she didn't figure out that Jeremy was actually a dead boy.
She read an entire freaking chant out of this stupid book that was literally agreement to like.
Have we learned nothing from Evil Dead?
Yeah.
Have we learned nothing from Evil Dead?
But
all the female characters in this were horrible.
Yeah. Oh, gee. Sorry, go ahead. Did you finish your thought?
I was gonna say, like, Winona Ryder's character really, really, really bothered me because not only is she a basket case, I mean, this is the reason she's a basket case, she is guilt tripped into agreeing to marry somebody that she doesn't even really want to.
The word love never comes out of her mouth. She never says, I love you. I can't imagine that people get married for other reasons, but
I mean that's
but he was bringing nothing to the table.
Literally, absolutely nothing. And the thing that finally, I like by the end, like you brought up, she'll undergo a character arc. I expect her to put her foot down after the whole like, when they're going to the church, but no, she's like, but he loves me, and that has to be enough. Like, no, it doesn't.
No, yeah,
she's supposed to say no. But instead, the thing that makes her say no is the fact. Finally, the guy that she's marrying tells her, like, against his will, I'm marrying you for money.
Yeah.
That's why she leaves him. Like,
ladies, this is not 1950s. Get a brain, get a backbone. Speak up for yourself. Olive G, what did you think of the film?
It was bad.
It was bad. I'm sorry. I really should have made you guys watch the first one because the first one is sweet and charming and fun.
The first one is well structured.
Yeah.
It tells a story. Your intro characters are, I forgot what their character's name is.
Barbara and Adam.
And it's a funny story because it's like they love their home and now these weirdos moved in and they're changing everything and they're trying to get them to leave. and they make a connection with the
Lydia.
with Lydia, and then Beetlejuice gets involved, and that seems natural because that's his job. He's a
disruptor,
a life exorcist or something like that. And it makes total sense. And you have that one story that goes from beginning to end,
right?
And it's satisfying. This there was Monica Bellucci's story. There was
the Jeremy story.
The Jeremy story. There was whatever the hell William Dafoe was doing.
Jackson.
Yeah. Lydia's story with her weirdo husband.
Rory.
The mother's story with mourning her husband. It was so much crap going on, and none of it was given any kind of real service.
No, none.
It was like 5 really disappointing stories in a single movie, and they really should have just had one story.
Maybe a B story. That's it. That should be...
Yeah, it should... Honestly, it should have been Beetlejuice trying to escape from Monica Bellucci's character.
Or, hear me out, no Wolf Jackson. Willem Dafoe. No Monica Bellucci. Sorry, Monica Bellucci, even though you're hot to look at. It should have just been the Jeremy story.
Yeah, you could have just been that, and then like they did in the film, they got Beetlejuice involved because he could help. But even there, it's... I don't know. It's just bad.
See, how I would have structured this story was I would have made Lydia sort of like a recluse, because obviously this experience of speaking with the dead probably isn't the easiest thing to go with. And how I would have structured the story is Charles and Delia wouldn't have been an issue. Maybe they had died and they left her the house, right? Maybe they were both retirees and like on a plane and it crashed or whatever. So how I would have started the story is I wouldn't have made Astrid's dad like this martyr. It would have just been a plain divorce. Your mother's weird. I don't want to deal with her. Goodbye. Her grandparents love her, but in their own special way, because they were never really touchy-feely. Even Delia's character. I mean, I think that she had some like this kind of familial understanding with the Lydia character, but it wasn't anything like, again, no family member is telling the other family member, I love you. You know what I mean? Like none of that, which is bizarre to me. And I would have made it so that they inherit the house. Maybe they go back there and then things go sideways. Maybe I feel like the Jeremy story was interesting. I liked that story.
It could have been interesting, but I gotta be honest. Just pick any other stories. Just pick one and go with it.
Yeah.
Stop spreading yourself so thin with a bunch of just unsatisfying nonsense.
Yeah.
And yeah, it wasn't even like the parts with Beetlejuice were that good either.
No, and it's a shame because Michael Keaton is always a treat. I mean, he probably was like the strongest thing in this thing.
Yeah. I mean,
and as much as I love MacArthur Park, the song, that was too much.
That went on way too long.
Yeah, it was too much.
I mean, if you're gonna play the whole goddamn song, have other stuff happening in it rather than just them floating around.
Yeah.
Was that the scene in the church?
Yeah.
The wedding.
Oh, yeah. I was on my phone for like 8 minutes during that.
That is a long-ass song.
And then I put it down to see if it was done, and it wasn't.
And I can't believe that version was with Richard Harris. And there was a point where actors were just doing...
Well, was he the original singer of that song?
No, that song is from like the 30s or the 40s, believe it or not.
Well, I mean, Richard Harris is old.
I know, but he didn't his version must have been from like the 60s or the 70s. Yeah. It sounded like.
It's so weird that it's like Richard Harris who sang this song.
It's like original Dumbledore.
Original Dumbledore, yeah.
Yeah. So my notes, had anyone consulted me, would have been: listen, I love Willem Dafoe and Monica Bellucci, but not necessary. Danny DeVito also wasted.
That was just a cameo. That was a use.
All those other minutia things, no. It should have just been focus on the relationship. Like, you can have it be that Astrid has this sort of antagonistic relationship with her mother because she feels like you've always put these ghosts ahead of me, and you even drove my dad away, and you don't understand me. Why don't you have a relationship with me? I'm here and I'm living. And meanwhile, maybe the Lydia character is just always bombarded by these ghosts, because there's that scene where she's talking to that woman in the bathroom and then she turns and it was almost like The Sixth Sense. You see that?
Yeah.
So
everything was just so half baked in this movie.
It was pretty.
Yeah,
that's the one thing you got to give it.
It was pretty to look at.
The costuming was really great in it. The set pieces were really great in it. But as far as story and it just wasn't there. It just wasn't there. I mean, I'm happy that this did well for them. Yeah. But then, unfortunately, that means it'll probably be a third one.
I mean, if they could make a third one that has just like one solid storyline in it, maybe you have something. But this was
go whole horror and just make Beetlejuice like this.
It's comedy. You have to make it funny.
Do you have to?
Yes, it's freaking Beetlejuice. It's not, I don't know, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Why not?
It's not.
All right. You can't change it up?
No.
All right.
Let's wrap it up.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. This was very, very... I'm going to start with myself. Again, as I started this review, this was extremely disappointing. If you want to see something more family fun in spooky season, definitely check out the original Beetlejuice and skip Beetlejuice from 2024. It is a miss. I'm going to give this a 4. What say you?
I'll give this a 3.
Gigi.
3. This is disappointing. I don't recommend.
Olive J.
4. I don't know.
Yeah. 2 4s, 2 3s. Yeah. It's definitely below the middle mark. So skip it. There's definitely better stuff out there. And with that, we will bid you all a
good night.
Good night.
Good night.